Hey you guys, it's Crystal from the Abundantly Blessed Homestead, where we use the wisdom of our ancestors to make amazing, nourishing, delicious meals for our family and grow some of our own food. This is another, hopefully 5 minutes and under video about the GAPS diet. This is video number 2. If you missed video number 1, I will put a link down below in the description box. You're going to want to check that out first. So, as we covered in the first video, I suggest some books that you should buy. And so, the next step in this process is to utilize those books, okay? So for instance, in the Heal Your Gut cookbook, there's an entire front section that teaches you how to make everything you're going to need to make on the GAPS diet. Everything from ferments to homemade coconut flour, coconut milk, almond flour, ghee, all of those things that you're going to need to learn how to make from scratch are in the beginning of that cookbook, and that's why I really strongly recommend that you buy that cookbook, because there's a ton of knowledge in the front that you're going to be utilizing while you're on the GAPS diet. So a good step would be to open up that book and start learning how to make this stuff. Now obviously some of those recipes aren't going to last if you're not going to start the GAPS diet right away, but if you're going to be starting intro soon, it's a good thing to go ahead and make ahead some of these items. It takes the pressure off of you. It makes the switch to a full GAPS diet a little bit easier for you, because some of the things you're going to need are already made up. So before you start intro, one thing to learn how to make is sauerkraut juice. There is a difference between sauerkraut and sauerkraut juice, and no, it's not just the juice out of the sauerkraut. So those are all things that you're going to have to flip through those cookbooks, find out how to make, and make before you start full GAPS and before you start intro. Another thing to consider is you're going to want to start sourcing the food that you're going to need on the GAPS diet. So go ahead and open up that yellow GAPS book that we talked about in the last video. Look and see what types of foods that you are going to be eating, and then start finding sources for them. Some examples of food that you would want to source are things like raw milk and raw dairy. You are going to be making your own sour cream, at least at first, on the GAPS diet, just as an introduction to make sure that even with raw dairy, if you are dairy intolerant, even with raw dairy, see if that's a trigger for you. A lot of times for people who are dairy intolerant, raw dairy is not an issue. So that's why it's really important to try and source raw dairy. If you need help finding raw dairy close to where you're living, you can go to realmilk.com and find a farmer near you. You can also reach out to the Weston A. Price Foundation. If you go to www.westonaprice.org, scroll down on their main screen, and down at the bottom it says Find Local Food. Go ahead and click on that, and then you can find by state all of their chapter leaders, all of their chapters. You just simply click on your state, click on the one that's closest to you, email them or give them a call, and they'll give you a list of local farmers that provide all sorts of food that you would need on the GAPS diet, and all sorts of food that I cook here on the channel. Nutrient-dense food, amazing, healthy food. That's what we're after. One really important skill is learning how to make your own fermented foods. If you don't know how to do this yet, I do have a couple of videos up here on the channel. One is how to make sauerkraut, and the other one is how to make fermented pickles. This is something that you're going to want to introduce to yourself before you even start the GAPS diet. Fermented foods help to build good bacteria within your gut, and it's just a good thing on the regular basis to eat. If you can eat the fermented food 15 minutes before a meal, it will signal your gallbladder to produce bile, which is what we need to break down fats and proteins. So it's kind of essential. It's a great way to train your body to build up stomach acid. A lot of our common issues that are linked to too much stomach acid are actually not linked to too much stomach acid, but too little. I'll let you guys research on that yourself. Another thing that you can start doing is, after you open up that yellow book and you see all the foods you can eat, you can go ahead and start clearing out your pantry. If there are items that do not fit on the Wise Traditions diet, which is what I cook here on the channel, or foods that don't fit into the full GAPS diet, you're going to want to get rid of them. You're going to be on this restrictive diet for 12 months to 18 months of your life. If something that you have in your pantry you can't have, that's sitting there, you're going to want to, and it's not shelf stable, you're going to want to get rid of it at this point, okay? We don't need foods in our pantry talking to us or tempting us to eat them when they're not allowed on the diet, okay? By cleaning out your cabinet, you are freeing yourself of food that would otherwise be tempting you. And like I said in the last video, the GAPS diet is a healing diet. So this is not a diet that you can fall on and off of like the South Beach diet or the Atkins diet. Your system, your body, your intestines, everything is healing. And so your intestines are going to be pretty raw. You could probably equate it to a sunburn. We're not going to want to be cheating on foods while we're on this diet. We want to stick to the protocol and work our way through so that we don't have to fall backwards in our healing, okay? The last thing that you can do is start looking through those cookbooks and incorporating some of the meals in them. The Full Gaps portion of this diet, which I always recommend starting on first for at least 2 weeks to 30 days, is a lot like a ketogenic type diet. It's grain-free, it's no starches. So there are quite a few keto recipes that would fit into it. The only difference is you're really limited on the types of cheeses that you can have on Full Gaps. So just check over your list, start making those more Full Gaps type meals, work your way in, maybe only do 1 Full Gaps meal a week or 2, work yourself up to doing 100% Full Gaps diet. All right, you guys, that is my video number 2 on the GAPS diet. If you guys have any questions, leave them down in the description. No. If you guys have any questions, leave them down in the comment section below, and I will get back to you. I can also make video content. If you guys have any specific questions about the GAPS diet, let me know down in the comments. There's going to be more videos coming, and I know quite a few of you guys are interested. I do plan on covering things like kitchen equipment and things to buy before starting the GAPS diet. That would mean like pantry items, okay? So if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know you're still with me, that you haven't and you're not too scared about the GAPS diet. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching my videos.